episode 2 of the MonicaSykes case. MonicaSykes is the young woman that's missing from Berkeley, Missouri. We have her mother, Regina Sykes, who's here. If you watched the last episode, we kind of did some twists and turns, some statistics. We have my co-host, attorney Randall K. Hill. And I am going to start this story out with, so I have an article from STL today, and Regina and I, we've talked about some things, and Randall, and I'm going to play a little the devil's advocate on this. So, according to Berkeley police officers cleared, correct?
Correct.
And Monica spent the night with the police officer who dropped her off at her home at 6:48. According to the security system, that's what they saw. She left her house 13 minutes later. Told her nephew she was coming back with candy. It was a white car. And nephew said, I remember looking out the window. She went into a white car and she was never seen again. So we know that's going to be brought up. So the police officer, he's clear, according to Berkeley police officer, because he dropped her off. He reported to work. However, who's that white car? So that white car.
Well, Nikki, remember, the white car was reported by a 6-year-old child. We don't know exactly whether there was a white car out there or not. I give him the benefit of the doubt, but we also have to realize the immaturity and the age of the boy. You know, what he thought he saw, he may not have saw. And it could have been a white car, but all I'm saying is we got a 6-year-old child reporting. The last person to see this young lady alive was an adult.
An adult, and let me add a little twist to this. An adult whom on October 12th, he was accused by his estranged wife of stalking and harassing her. That's in the petition, restraining order in St. Louis County Court.
As well as a divorce petition, as I understand.
That's open information. And he was still on the police force. Well, she didn't show up for court, so the charges were dropped, but they were still filed. He didn't show up for court. She didn't show up for court, the estranged wife. He was hired on Berkeley Police Force without a background check. You're serve and protect, but we don't know anything about you. Your daughter was last seen with him, an adult. And just because your daughter did not get in his car, she was last seen with him and this white car of this young man, whom is now in jail and has been held. And he said, I kept calling her, but her phone kept going to voicemail. I couldn't get her. Whom, if the police had anything to do with it, they could have gotten his car. They could have said, I'm going to take your car, and I am going to pick up Monica in your car. He doesn't actually have to be the messenger. The police officer could very well be the sender. There's so many ways, and I'm not saying this, but I am not coming out saying that he did this, but I'm looking at it, I'm playing devil's advocate, because something is not right about this case. Something is not right. Where is this white car? Has this young man, this white car?
I think we've got to be concerned. This has played out within the last year or so with a St. Louis Board of Education employee.
Yeah.
That was accused of getting a young lady pregnant, one of the women that worked at his school, and he sent one of his friends to do his dirty work. So we have all those elements. Of course, we're not part of the investigation.
Right.
But it does make everyone pause when we find out that the police officer that she was last seen with has been on at least 5 to 10 other police departments in the course of the last 10 years, was not properly vetted before he became, and may well have had some activities with your daughter. Yes. I take it back once again to you and applaud you for the wonderful work that you and your husband have done. Can you tell us the stone walls that you've run into in terms of this investigation and trying to get both the Berkeley Police Department as well as St. Louis County's Police Department or Prosecuting Attorney's Office
Hold on,
to help
Randall.
investigate?
I got one more thing to ask, though, before you do that. So, you know I love research. So, Detective Allison Stewart, she was working on the case from the Berkeley police officer, detective on the case. They have now demoted her from being
Lead.
the lead investigator on the case. Because Allison has a lawsuit against Berkeley police officer. It seems like it's a lot of loopholes. It's not, coincidental. It seems as if the law enforcement and the prosecutors, they're working together and they're going to sweep this under the rug. And if we find this woman and if these are her remains that come back,
we're going to pin it on
we're going to pin it on this young man that's being held. Is he being held in Hazelwood?
He's been held in St. Louis County.
St. Louis County. We'll pin it on him, and this is how it rolls. And this is what I don't want to happen, because it happens so often. Megan Boken, Cornell McKay, good friend of mine, Thomas Sanfilippo, defended Cornell McKay. That young man served 3 years in jail
for the Megan
Boken case, and we were
convinced.
we were convinced that evidence was found that he's the one that did it. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But guess what? It was not. And he's an innocent young man. You ruined his life mentally, where he feels like he has no hope and he's not the same. And Thomas took that case pro bono and tore it apart. And he was just fresh out of law school. And he got that young man out. So what do we say in cases like this? I mean, we have to look at this with me. I was pulled over, gotten out the car, extortion, asked for money on a cold winter night by a police officer. And this is happening far too often, and now it's hell and hot water to get out. And I am a citizen who fight. I am a productive citizen of society. It was the scariest day ever for me. A cold day in winter. It was a cold day in winter for me, and I am still traumatized when police officers pull up behind me. But think about the citizens that are not strong. Think about you as a family. Will your daughter ever be able to recover from this? Regina, I want you to tell our viewers just how you feel. How are your nights? How are you and your husband? I know you said that Monica, she called your husband every night and he's not sleeping anymore.
So how I feel is that I have all this inner turmoil going on. But I have to maintain this other exterior, because you mentioned WashU. I work at WashU. I'm a director at WashU. I have a department that reports to me. So I have a career and a job that I have to maintain. So I have to put on this front that I'm okay. But every single day before I go into my office, I'm sitting in my car in tears, because I'm trying to pull myself together just enough to ride out the storm of that day. I don't sleep much at night anymore. I don't eat much. I think I've lost maybe 20 pounds, which I really couldn't afford to lose to begin with. But it's like our lives have been turned upside down, and you live a nightmare and you want to wake up, right? You wake up from a nightmare. We can't wake up from this. It's like you're in a storm, and you keep trying to find a comfortable place to go, and it's no, and that comfortable place isn't either it's physical nor it's mental. You can't find it. You can't find it. You try not to think that the worst has happened. And people talk about, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. You cannot. This is the worst that can happen. You can't prepare yourself for. There is no way you can prepare for that.
Oh, wow. We're going to take a small break, and we'll be back with Straight Talk TV.
St. Louis, have you checked out 95.5 R&B and old school for the Lou? Playing the greats of R&B to old school, classic hip-hop, and today's R&B. We are 95.5 R&B and old school for the Lou. Listen online at 955thelou.com.
Regina, do you feel like the prosecuting attorney, like the law enforcement, they're not doing their job? They're not working hard enough. Or do you feel like they just don't care? What do you feel?
I do feel like they just don't care. And it's a thing. We constantly hear the term protect and serve, right? Mm-hmm. So apparently my daughter has not been protected, right?
That's the first part.
There's no protection. So now it's time for them to serve her, serve me, serve our family. And that part of the serve part is not being done. What has happened is that we get a consistent runaround. I spend days and weeks planning out what office I'm going to go to. Me and my husband, where are we going to go? We went to Bob McCullough's office. The last meeting, we walk in and we sit down, and we're asked the question: do we have any new information for them?
Wow.
That's not my job. It's not my job. I have new information, but my job is not to get new information. You're supposed to be giving us new information, new developments.
So everything has been your research that has been given to St. Louis County. Very little has come back to you.
Yes.
And of course the report is that of course we can't discuss it because it's an open investigation.
Yeah.
But along the way, we've also talked to folks from Texas that have
Yes.
graciously volunteered to come up here. Can you tell us how you contacted the Texas Search people?
Yeah.
So wait, you did that?
I did that, and it comes across that they say Berkeley contacted them to come out. I was the one that reached out to them because I had someone from Missouri Missing, that group, said, why don't you call them, because it's Texas Equisearch, so they're equestrians, right? So they come out with horses, but because the area that they search, there was no water or any of that involved, they just asked for people to come out, and they have people that organize searches, and this is what they do. So they, before they could come out and do anything, they had to contact Berkeley to get the approval for them to come out, as well as get information on what area they should search.
What's the time frame between Monica's becoming missing and the time that the Equisearch comes out, just so we'll have a frame of reference as term.
Right. So Monica was missing October 28th
That's
of
right.
2016.
Okay.
February 4th of 2017 is when Texas Equisearch came out. So we're talking 3 months and
3 months down the road.
and they came.
So how long did St. Louis County do their search?
From what I'm understanding,
How long did it take them to
and
do
it wasn't
their
even
search?
St. Louis County. As I'm understanding, it was not St. Louis County. It was Berkeley. It was a few Berkeley police officers and a volunteer search group here in Missouri that did it. And that was early November that they did the search. And they did the search in the same area, in the Kinlock area, where they had dogs, cadaver dogs. They had a team of people. It was less than 10 or 15 people that did the search. They had helicopters and drones. And they discovered nothing.
But then we have Texas Equisearch that came, and
They found
they
remains.
found remains. And where was the remains found?
I don't know the specific location, and that's one of those things I didn't ask
Okay.
that question. But here's the other thing is that,
But they found, but
right,
In a weekend.
In
in,
a-
in one weekend.
yes.
But we have our special team, quote unquote, and they
Yeah.
did the best they could, and they couldn't find anything.
over the course of 3 months.
But that's what I'm learning from other parents that have missing loved ones is that Kinlock is the area they send everybody to do the search. So whomever remains it is, and I pray to God that it's not my child, but whoever's child it is, whoever's loved one it is, Kinlock is known for a dumping ground.
Really?
So I'm surprised that they only turned up
One.
one, which I believe they turned up more than one, but
So what part of Kinlock did they search in originally? The search team from St. Louis County. Was it closer to that I-70 corridor, like kind of where Berkeley and Kinlock?
no, it was closer to where Kinlock and Ferguson borderline.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
we're talking suburban streets. I think there's the
Oh,
Martin Luther King
yeah,
Street. We're talking that
So
area.
kind of by that where they built up express scripts, but further down,
Right.
like further in those backwood areas.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's known for a dumping ground?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's horrendous over there because our family and friends also went into Kinlock because initially when we asked after they said that that they had this person of interest, and we asked, well, where did you guys search? And they told us Kinlock. So we were like, okay, well, guess we'll go there. So what they offered to us, instead of calling in a search group, another search group, they offered us a map of Kinlock. This was what Berkeley extended. And it came from the prosecuting attorney's office. And it said, well, if the Sykes family wants to go over and search in Kinlock, you can give them a map of Kinlock.
From St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office?
They directed Berkeley to tell us that they could give us a map of Kinlock. So at that point, when they did their search, when Berkeley did their initial search, they were done. They were done. They were not going to go back over there.
And you took a group and your family out on a regular basis, I understand it, Monica. But the volunteers were all to meet at a certain location. And how many weekends did you search for, Monica?
We searched every single weekend that Monica has been gone. Every single
The
weekend.
flyers were passed out, or there was a team that went out looking in vacant buildings and in yard lines.
So, Regina, I want justice for your daughter. When will we know the remains that were found? When will we know if it's Monica?
So
Did they give you a time frame?
So they initially in the first day they told us 2 to 6 weeks. Then they pushed it out because we don't have dental records for Monica. She never had a broken bone, and as an adult, she didn't have any problems with her teeth. As a kid, she went to the dentist, but dentists only keep records for 7 years.
Okay.
So because there's no dental records, because there's no bones that have been broken, they told us it could take up to a year. And from what I'm learning is that because the state has such a backlog with DNA testing, as well as the FBI has a backlog, then it could take up to a year. Detective Stewart did find California Department of Justice has offered to do the DNA testing.
Okay.
And they said possibly 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay.
But after we found out it may take up to a year, what my family, we started doing, started calling universities. I work at WashU School of Medicine. Let's see, they do research, right? So could we possibly, I'm one of their own. And I went to the genealogy department and just spoke to some people. I also talked to someone from the U.S. Marshal, a doctor from the U.S. Marshal, and how he explained to me about the DNA testing is that most universities, most places that do DNA testing, it's just that part where you see where you can trace like your family tree. There's no definitive answers to say that this is actually, this particular person. It just tells you if it's a part of your family tree. The type of testing that needs to be done is actually going into like bone marrow and doing that and getting DNA for myself and her brothers and sisters, because they need all of her blood brothers and sisters to do DNA swabs. So we've got that part done.
Okay.
So now it's more of just waiting to see what the results are, and we've been told it may take up to 4 weeks.
Okay, we're going to take a small break, and we'll be back with Straight Talk TV.
St. Louis, have you checked out 95.5 R&B and old school for the Lou? Playing the greats of R&B to old school, classic hip-hop, and today's R&B. We are 95.5 R&B and old school for the Lou. Listen online at 955thelou.com.
Welcome back. We're going to wrap up the last segment of Straight Talk TV. And on this segment, we have Regina Sykes, the mother of MonicaSykes, and myself, host Nikki J, and co-host attorney Randall Cahill. We've got some great information. If you didn't watch the first segment, I just want to go back to the numbers, the statistics, which Regina, I'm going to have you kind of give us those numbers and the data where it was 21 African-American women whom are missing out of 26.
Yes.
And over a 10-year time span. And they're all missing from Berkeley, Missouri. Your daughter was last seen, the last adult that she was seen with physically was a police officer from Berkeley, Missouri, who was hired by the city council. No background check was done on him. In October, his estranged wife, she filed a restraining order against him. And for harassment and stalking. And we have Bob McCullough from the St. Louis County Prosecuting Office, who will not take this case. He's let Berkeley do their own investigation on their own police officer. We have Detective Allison Stewart, who was the lead detective, whom has a case against Berkeley Police Office, Berkeley Police Office. And she's now been demoted. She's still on the case, but she's not the lead anymore. It's so many twists and turns to this story, and I truly believe that Bob McCullough needs to take this case. It's only but right. I don't feel that a police department should be investigating their own. It's unconstitutional. It's unfair. It's we know that blue bleed blue. And that's by any means necessary. They're in a whole army of their own.
It's been the report, Nikki. But Regina's had the opportunity, I think, in the last week or so to meet with the mayor of Berkeley.
Yes.
Can you please tell us what was the outcome of that meeting and what you found out about why St. Louis County had not taken the case, why it was still part of Berkeley, and we've also gotten at least some national attention now flowing towards Monica's case. Can you update us?
So the meeting with the mayor of Berkeley.
This is Ted Hoskins.
Ted Hoskins. We met with him, myself, my husband, and my father. And what came out of that meeting was that he was more concerned about the image of Berkeley, since this is national, since we've had Dateline.
Are you kidding me?
And what he stated to us on multiple occasions throughout this hour and 20-minute meeting was that he pulled Detective Stewart off of the case because she was the least experienced officer, and how would that look? That makes Berkeley look bad. Because this is now.
But Detective Stewart is one of the detectives that kind of gave you closure, that was working with you, and just all of a sudden she's inexperienced. You got answers from Detective Stewart, but she's inexperienced now, and she's been demoted from the case. Oh, she's still on the case, but we're going to pull her. And we have a missing woman that's missing from Berkeley Police, and Hoskins, you're worried about your image.
The black ad he's received.
Here's the deal. Your image is ruined because you have 21 African American women missing from Berkeley, Missouri, over a 10-year time span out of 26. Your image is done. We will do one or two things. I myself, because the segregation gap in St. Louis, and I'm not talking about black or white, I'm talking about poor and rich. It has to stop. She needs justice for her daughter. This is a professional woman. This is a woman and her husband who's raised their two daughters together to love each other, who they come from a loving family, and she wants justice. It's not fair that she's going to have to wait an entire year to even know if this is her daughter. It's not fair to the remaining 21 young women that have never been found. It's not fair for McCullough, for you, to not take this case when you know you should be taking this case. McCullough, Hoskins, you need to get together, and this case needs to be moved to St. Louis County. I will send this story on a national level to find justice for this woman and her husband and Dana and all the rest of the families that are missing their loved ones. It's only but right. And you can't go around with this attitude like you don't care. Because at the end of the day, the citizens, that's who's paying you. Right is right. We'll end it with some closing statements. I'm done talking. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. Randall and Regina, I'm going to let you talk.
Go ahead, Regina.
So I appreciate you guys allowing me to come and just talk about it. I just want to say that first. But I agree with you. This has to be moved further than just locally. What the mayor has said and told us is disgraceful. It's just insulting on all different levels. For us to get the runaround and from Bob McCullough's office, where we go back and forth, where Berkeley said that they asked for help and was rejected, to the point where I'm finding out Berkeley never asked for the help, so I don't know who to believe. So it's difficult to find who to trust in this. So I personally am stepping outside of trusting the police. I don't necessarily even trust the political figures to do what they're supposed to do. So I'm at a point where I need to find my daughter. No matter what the circumstance, I need to find her.
Yeah. And this first step, I think, is moving that case.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, because I feel like Berkeley has exhausted any resources that they have, which was very minimal to begin with, but they've exhausted whatever they could do. They should have given this up when they realized it was one of their own police officers that was involved.
I agree with you. And I think across the board, we all have to thank Mr. and Mrs. Sykes for bringing attention to this matter, to get into the root cause of what's going on in North City, North County, the crime that is not being solved. We're running a new election for mayor of St. Louis. Everybody wants to be in office, and the only thing they can say is we're tough on crime, but the resources are not there. If we're going to do something, if we're going to make a difference, we have to start off by holding folks accountable for what they do. And that's not only the criminals, that's our police departments as well, and our politicians. Well, we got a community, Nikki, and the citizens are part of that community, our police officers, our politicians. We can't get on a boat that, has divided and broken and fractured pieces to it. We all have to move forward as a community. We all need to go forward hand in hand. I thank Ms. Sykes for sharing her time with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Sykes, and thank you for interviewing with us. And this wraps up our segment of Straight Talk TV with Nikki J, co-host attorney Randall Cahill, and Regina Sykes, the mother of missing Berkeley woman MonicaSykes, St. Louis.
Praise.